All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to Onelife Podcast. This is take 2 for us.
Yeah.
I screwed up the first podcast. Classic Physique Competitor, basically on the edge of being professional.
Mm-hmm.
And you also do a lot of volunteer time, dress as superheroes, especially Superman, go to hospitals, kids, nonprofits, amazing things like that.
No, it's a lot of fun for me, and it's my way of, being part of the community that I'm living in. I did it a lot back home in Bakersfield, California, where I'm originally from.
Yeah.
Then moving here in June, my initial goal is to, do the bodybuilding competitions with my coach that resides here now. So I'm involved with the community in the fitness industry, but also this is the entertainment capital too, on top of other good major cities too. But this is definitely a hot spot to do something what I can do, doing volunteer work, but there's also opportunities for someone to randomly come up and is like, hey, we have a side movie project that we could definitely use you in,
That's the thing, right? Just being seen. When you're a good looking guy, you're in good shape, and you're at home, or you're out and doing good.
Right.
You have more chance to be found or seen. And you always hear these stories about famous people who are being found in random places.
Yeah.
So you never know what's going to come from it, right?
Exactly. And the gyms have been the popular spot for those hunting grounds sometimes for a lot.
Especially in Vegas, right?
Vegas, agents are looking around, especially for like action figure looking individuals. Like we look at back in the days of Schwarzenegger, when he was in Conan the Barbarian. Even
that's how he got found, right?
Lou Ferrigno was also when he was, in the Hercules franchise. Those guys were like the stepping stones into all these action films, and Sylvester Stallone.
You never know, right? I remember there's a X-Men, and there's this like ridiculous looking guy running through the hole with no shirt on. And it's the only shot you see of him. But he just looks so damn phenomenal. And it's like, I don't know who he is. I don't know what his name is. I don't know what he does.
This is like an independent film, or we're talking about Hugh Jackman?
No, X-Men.
Oh,
it was like in the school, and there's a fire or something, and everyone's running, and he's just one of the students, but he was like an adult, but just like this phenomenal looking guy who I'll never know the name of, but I'm sure he was just one of these like pickups. Hey, we need someone with this ridiculous body, and I still remember him. That's years ago. I remember thinking, I'd love to look like this guy.
Right.
So you just don't know. But what I do know is you don't do anything, you don't put yourself out there, you're not going to be found.
No, I mean, you could talk about it, trying to get people to help you out, but if you don't put in 100% effort, much like we do in the gym, which obviously we'll talk more about what I've been doing for my bodybuilding career, but it's the actions, right? You can talk the talk, but if you don't walk the walk, then you're never going to be found, you're never be noticed. No one's going to know who the hell you are.
Billie Eilish, Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Those two people have made themselves discoverable.
Yeah, especially with Justin Bieber, the young age that he was in.
Like YouTube. If he didn't put himself on YouTube.
Right.
If Billie Eilish didn't put herself on Spotify.
Yeah.
They'd be very talented people with nobody would know who they are.
Right.
So I totally agree. The volunteer work. So you obviously big buff dude, looks like the natural Superman. Why? I know you're very passionate about Superman. Why Superman specifically?
I am. My parents can laugh at this when I tell
It's
the
just
story.
been since a kid, has it?
It's been a kid, yeah, and it's since
Is that what got you into the weights?
The weights didn't really click into me at that time as a kid, but I watched like a lot of the Superman films of Christopher Reeve. I mean, I rewatched that on the VHS back in the day. Rewatched it and rewind that thing so many times because I absolutely loved it. Then I got to watching, I was still too young for this, but then you remember Lois and Clark with Dean Cain. And, I was watching that a little bit, but it was very adultish.
It's in the Family Guy section on Dean Cain.
Oh God, yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. I forgot all about that. Yeah.
I don't know about
Superman.
I don't know about his personality, but they ripped the hell out of him. I was like, is he?
Yeah,
poor guy.
They did not. He stood no chance against that. But it was all for fun and games at the same time. But then I started getting more involved with sports because I come from a very sports background with my family. My dad played for University of Oregon. That's where he met my mother.
You play football? Or?
I played football.
I know. What did your dad play?
Yeah, my dad was a quarterback for the University of Oregon.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And then my brother and I played multiple sports, mostly football. We didn't play baseball like he did when he was in high school, but we did play basketball.
Did he lift too?
Yeah, he lifted. Yeah.
Did he teach you a lot?
Well, no, unfortunately, my father ended up passing away from cancer back in '99. Just barely turned, 10 years old back in
So you didn't get that opportunity.
I didn't get an opportunity. It was a very interesting time, but most of his character lived on through my brother and I, because again, my brother, who's 4 years older than me, we played multiple sports when we got into like junior high and then high school level. We both played football, but I was the fullback running back. I was the guy who likes to get hit and hit people back. My brother also was the same way, but he was a quarterback and safety. But my brother and his class in senior year actually made our first rugby club for high schoolers. Yeah. Okay. So when I came in high school, a freshman, my group of friends kept that going for 4 years.
Gotcha.
So we went down to Southern California and played all against these other teams. We were pretty much a dominant force, and it kept us in shape for football season. So instead of wrestling, yeah, it would have been fun to do, but I'm also season ready to be hit. So it was a fun and very me to respect the sport of rugby. And my brother actually went on to play more in college. And then I played a little bit at the semi-professional level back home in Bakersfield. But all of that eventually turned into, like, I went to CrossFitting for a good portion of the year back when it was just coming out, like the beginning level. Then later on, I got into Olympic weightlifting, then powerlifting. I was very much enjoying that, especially for the dieting aspect of it. Like, you can eat whatever you want type of thing. And in all reality, the heaviest weight I ever been was during that time was 240 pounds. And I was strong, but as I was doing my personal training gig,
like a cow.
I was like a bull. Yeah, I was more like a bull than anything else, but a teddy bear at the same time. Do
you mind if I jump in with your dad? Did you stick to the sports and like really trying to be the best of your you could be to kind of represent your dad? Like kind of, yeah. Or was it just in your DNA? Or was it a little bit of both?
It was both. He was a hardworking individual.
You kind of want to keep that going in a way and like represent him and you and your brother. It kind of
just came naturally, to be honest with you.
I was just wondering if that was like fire for you in a way.
It was definitely what kept me going as far as playing the sports that we all grew up and loved, and it was something that just kept going and going with me. Even now I'm in the sport of bodybuilding, I know he's there with me in spirit, and he's like watching me up there, just like seeing how much I'm progressing and everything else, so it's never gone away.
Yeah.
So I know he's very proud and happy where I'm at now, especially with my career that I've decided to choose from over the years, and now just continue to be more in the sports realm, regardless of what it is. That's why, I often do this just to like keep myself in that same momentum.
And I was just thinking myself, that was me. That's the path I'd be taking too for that reason. Yeah. So I figured it was.
So I mean, it's very in depth, but that's some things too that helps individuals keep accountable and motivated for whatever goals we have set ourselves in lives, whether it be the career you choose or the sports you continue to play. Like, how do you carry those out?
Are you and your brother tighter because of like what happened and you both being active?
We're both active in our own ways,
Are you pretty tight and pretty close?
Yeah, we are.
Or are you competitive?
Well, no, we're
both.
No, we're definitely, like those Bond brothers, but we kind of have our own separate paths of careers that we do. Are we still like very competitive and athletic? Yes, we are. I actually picked up a lot from him, being the leadership that he did throughout his rugby and football years. I mean, there was a lot that I picked up on, and he taught me a lot when it came to rugby, though he was a winger and I was playing strong side flanker. So he kind of gave me a few tips watching all those videos I did playing with Kern County Tuskers. He's like, you really don't have to go all the way across the field just to get into the ruck, just because you can just back off and take. You know how rugby goes. It's just like it's a slow paced game. Like, pace yourself. Don't get all your energy wasted out though. But But, it is one of those things.
No, it's interesting. Okay, we just touched on a lot. Let's go back to the volunteer stuff.
Yeah.
Superman, love Superman. It's kind of been a role model for you. Now you get to be the real Superman, and you get to volunteer your time to help children, nonprofits, things like that. Talk to me about that experience.
So this all started 6 years ago now. And this was back home in Bakersfield, where
Bakersfield is middle of nowhere, right?
Well,
is that the edge of California when you come from Vegas?
We're just 2 hours north of Los Angeles, but we're pretty much like the hub for like the agricultural and oil field.
I was going to say, it's not beach and it's farmland.
It's, we're not population, but we're the size of Los Angeles. Like we expand pretty far. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we were nowhere near the population, but Bakersfield is growing a lot. And that's just because people are coming to commute easier for affordable
it's the first
homes.
place I hit when I get to Cali, right?
Well, yeah. If you're going through Barstow, you go all the way to Tehachapi area. That will take you through directly to Bakersfield.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of going down to San Bernardino area to goes you to, you know, northeast of Los Angeles.
Okay.
But it all started with a friend of mine who called me and asked me, look, we're doing this like charity event at one of the comic book stores that's now turned into a dojo, I believe. And so they needed like another character. So she knew that I always was a big fan of Smallville, which is obviously a Superman series, still one of the greatest series of all time, in my opinion. And she thought I would be good to dress up as Superman. So I said, sure, why not?
Sure.
Except the suit that I have now compared to that first one is just ridiculous. But the one I bought just out of nowhere was just like your basic costume, but it had just these pillow stuffing muscles in it. So I'm already at a decent shape size, but adding that pillow stuffing into it just made me look like the Hulk.
Just like jacked.
It was just jacked.
Yeah, normally it's a skinny guy putting on that stuff. Never mind a jack guy.
Yeah, like it was about to rip everything off. And
That's funny.
Yeah, and so then I met through my friend Larissa, who was already doing these cosplay events, but she was doing a lot of the Disney princesses. So this idea came in her head, like from her and I, to join up to do a superhero business, nonprofit or birthday party gig. So she became the Supergirl, and then I eventually got my own suit of the second one as Superman. And so
you were volunteering for some things and getting paid for other things.
We would do birthday gigs, yes.
Okay.
And then
you get paid for the birthday gigs and things.
We get paid for, that's just giving our time. And
then you're volunteering time for other things.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
like the Mothers Against Drunk Driving, the CASA events, cancer walks, Alzheimer's walk, like you gotta name it. Like there's a plethora of them that we've done.
Gotcha.
And but she ended up moving away to Arizona to begin a new chapter of her life. So I took over the reins of the entire business myself. Then I brought in a new person to take over Supergirl, which she was perfect for the role. And she was actually a former teen pageant contestant for Bakersfield. And she's been my Supergirl ever since until I moved here. But we also picked up other people that also were doing like Captain America appearances, the old school Penguin, we had a Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, Iron Man. Like I eventually formed everybody together to come partake with me to these events. So everyone's able to pass out like their business cards, you know, if everyone's looking for somebody for a birthday party event and stuff like that.
Was everybody fit and jacked like you guys?
Well,
was that part of the criteria?
Well, I mean,
because most people are just normal people getting dressed up.
Most people are just doing cosplay, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, but I mean, like the birthday parties and that. Generally, they're just regular looking people who get dressed up.
Oh yeah,
but I mean,
the kids don't know the difference.
No, I know.
At a certain age, but you know what I mean.
But for you guys, were you guys more on the fit side because that's who your friends' environment was?
At the time, it didn't matter to me. Okay. You know, I was very open to it, but there are moments where, say, if you were to take it like to another level, I wouldn't say this is eliminating these people out, but these people are asking for professionals, like almost like Hollywood people. That's what people thought we came from. We thought they were from Hollywood, like us. And I was like, well, that's the idea. But the perception is that if you know the character and you know, like kids ask you those questions, like you're able to respond right away, you're fit for the role. Now, if you were doing some sort of like short skit films and stuff like that, then obviously that's going to take a little more interaction with, again, making sure you look like the character. Because in the past, I have gotten feedback from certain parents and customers that said, well, so-and-so was great, but they just look like an off-season character. You know what I mean? So they kind of put it in that way, which this tends to happen a lot. But I do tend to keep it to as real as possible. Now, again, I'm not trying to be judgmental or anything else like that, but someone just looks obviously not like the character at all, then that's not bringing the magic to life. That's
No,
usually
no.
what it is, you know. And it's not me being rude or anything. I'm trying to be professional and realistic as possible
No,
because
it's like Disneyland. They look the part to fit the character.
yep, and
They
that's what
haven't
you
got a
look
beard
for.
belly. They haven't got a dirty costume, but everything is movie
Or
quality.
it's the Universal Studios. Like they have,
So-
they're showing the Superman and the Supergirl, Wonder Woman, all that stuff too. So they have those actors that are portraying that for the theme.
So you're doing that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, but that's why I moved out here. I was able to continue on with that. So that's why I've been getting some more photo shoots out here. Then I just did recently an event on the last time we had just had our podcast, which was great. It was great turnout. The kids were just like, it was awesome. Except I always get this question asked to me, can you fly right now? Can you do the heat revisions? And it's like, and they're very persistent on
What
it.
age are the kids?
Oh my gosh, they had to be like 5 or 6 years
That's
old.
awesome. So innocent.
Well, it's the boys mostly, and the little girl who was there was just like asking me these questions. And you know, it was like a taco fundraiser event. So I was like, "Did you have any tacos or quesadillas?" She's like, "No, I don't like that." I was like, "Well, I like pizza and sushi." And she just eyes just lit up. She's like, "I like sushi pizza too." She runs over back to her friends and starts telling them the story, and I can hear from afar. It was
What do
cute.
you tell the kids when they ask you to fly?
I just try to be as creative as possible. I'll be like, well, I just flew very far and you guys have very bad wind turbulence. Because at the time, that's when this wind was blowing. So I'm just like, I got very tired. Like I just landed here. So let me just take a little breather, you know.
Superman's getting soft for the kids.
Yeah, oh my, it's like me practicing with my own future children, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's still fun because again, that's where you as an individual if you're interested in it and you have a passion for it, then whatever character you choose, you always got to know what to do and how to say things that's going to still remain in the magic of it. Even though you can't really do the things I do. That's what makes it so difficult as Superman, because he flies, he's super breaths, he uses heat revision. I mean,
everything.
super speed and all. It's just like,
whereas Batman just forgot his
Batman just has a utility belt, and that's easy to do.
Yeah.
You know,
I forgot the Batmobile and the Bat bike or whatever.
Yeah, the Bat bike, and
you
the
actually,
helicopter too.
You don't need tools. You're supposed to be able to do it.
I mean, strength, I can lift them up easily. That's close to.
I mean, that works.
It works for a bit, but then it just gets very redundant. And
pick up this car.
Pick up this car is the next thing. I'm like, oh gosh, no. Well, your parents' car insurance is not going to like me lifting this up. So I get a little creative with that.
Comebacks you've got.
Well, and that's the magic of it. You have to have these great comebacks. They're kind of looking like, okay.
He's been asked this before.
Yeah.
What's the most rewarding things you've done as far as like with the volunteer stuff? Is it adults? Is it kids? Like what? Like you're changing people's lives, right? What are some things that stand out?
The best thing about the character Superman is that obviously, you know, the chest symbol on him is the symbol of hope. In the times we live in right now, there's no better time than now to bring forth this particular character, to bring that joy and happiness. And, you know, the children just go crazy. But some of the parents and the adults go even crazier because
they're geeking
they're geeking out like, oh my God, you seriously look like Christopher Reeve. This is like coming from the grandmothers. And you can tell they're just like being a little flirtatious in a way.
He was a good-looking buff guy back in the day, wasn't he?
6'4", 225 pounds when he was, training for the role and everything. Then you have obviously like Dean Cain. Then you get
who was quite jacked too.
He was great for the role of the show. And then you have Brandon Roth, who came in Superman Returns in 2006.
He was in crazy shape. Wasn't he?
He was in good shape. I didn't like the suit as much, but he fit the role very perfectly.
With that shirt on, he looked really good.
Then you get Henry Cavill. That to me was the pinnacle of what I ultimately wanted to achieve, because that was more of a realistic build, like the cartoon variation. But now you see what he trained with under Jim Jones to get ready for that role, which I downloaded the program for the weight training.
I did, yeah.
But before I met my coach, obviously me training with Coach Eric Broza now for almost 8 years, he's gotten me in the shape that I needed to be in. Very classic, which fits the role of classic Superman.
Yeah, absolutely.
My IG. You know? So in order for me to keep that appearance up is like, yes, I'm in the bulk season right now. I weigh now 220 pounds, which is the best off-season shape I ever have been on since working with him. Because in the past, my body was always going through not be able to absorb the extra carbohydrates. So we had to be very careful how we're tapering down to my nutrition and obviously the cardio aspect of it. Because now I'm in my prime. Now my body is just loving it. Like it's absorbing everything, which is great.
Interesting.
But that goes back into, again, all these actors and actresses in Hollywood who do like the Marvel series to the DC series. They have professional trainers, dietitians, and all that stuff, which they're lucky enough to have, but they keep themselves in that shape to be ready for the roles. Again, Hugh Jackman is a great example for it. He's been doing the Wolverine character for what, over 10 years? And you see the older he gets, he still remains in phenomenal shape because he gets it. Like, I got to keep the character alive, even though he's, 6 inches taller compared to the original Wolverine. But, he still brought it to life. And so even with my current shape now, people are still going like, yeah, that's a real Superman right there. And even when I start leaning out, like obviously my shape and symmetry will change a little bit, but it'll still look the same to their eyes because this is an individual who's keeping themselves physically ready for the role in any God-given time.
Talk to me about coaching. So I have a business coach. I have a Muay Thai coach. I think it's very important. I love coaching. I think a lot of people are like, when I started personal training, I hired a personal trainer. I feel like a professional tennis player has a coach for a reason, right? I feel like someone can always hold you more accountable. You can always learn more. You can always grow. What's your thoughts on having a coach and what's it done for you?
Exactly what you said. I too am a personal trainer myself. I always said to myself, there's nothing wrong with a trainer having their own trainer, especially with years of experience, as you know, because you can gain more enriched knowledge based on the studies that they have done for like over 30 years and how much they are still continuing to grow.
They've put more time in, right?
They put in all the time in the world. That's why
even at the same age, they could have done specific time.
Yeah.
Like you're learning this one thing, but they're learning this new thing. So even though you got the same amount of time, you got different niches.
Exactly. And that's what I stuck with Eric Brozer all these years, because he takes the time for all his athletes and clients to know how their bodies are working, how to change the diet, what's working best for them or not. He ups the workouts or he deloads you because he can tell you exactly like how your body is getting tired. That's why rest days are very important to do. As for me, being a very stubborn athlete, I like to go, go, go. And I'm finding out now that I can't do that anymore. I'm not in my 20s. I'm in my mid-30s. So I got to taper it back and take full advantage of that
recovery.
He
tell you that? Did Eric tell you that?
Yeah, he did. Well,
when he was on the podcast, you're saying that some people listen and some people don't. Do you listen or you got to be told multiple times?
No, I do. But I find myself, because I'm a worker. Like I worked 2 jobs here when I started moving here in Vegas. First one was working at the Dragon's Lair, which is my home gym.
Yeah.
They got me up and running and working at the front desk, where I wanted to get involved with personal training, but I figured, you know what, let me take an alternative route to get my face known a little bit in the community. And then Las Vegas Discount Nutrition came in sight, because I also did work at the supplement nutrition store. It was called Bakersfield Sports Nutrition, then it turned into Rev Nutrition.
Okay.
And then I did that for almost like a year and a half. So I was getting training and supplementation business going co in hand. So I ended up getting a full-time position at the store and still doing a little bit at the gym. But over the course of time, I kind of got more involved with the nutritional side aspect, because I was able to now give tips and advices for the years that I put in the work as a trainer for 10 years. That includes with medical clients. That was my personal niche. And that helped me out with all my stroke clients that I train, cancer survivors, or those who are just coming off of chemo, MS, lupus, anything along those lines. And I have a client in particular who's been my longest ongoing client. She's suffered from 5 strokes in the almost now 6-7 years that we've been training together.
And you're stuck with her.
And the weight training is what helped her. And that's the thing that benefits these individuals, because the weight training is just going to be great for the body to maximize the recovery. And she also had other issues. She had a hole in her heart valve, so pretty much a PFO, and the muscle was just flapping in the valve until eventually the weight training helped to seal it up, and it just regenerated and healed.
Were the doctors telling her to not train, to just take it easy?
Nope.
Oh, the doctors were actually on your side.
They were on my side.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Because normally it's the opposite, right?
It is the opposite. And this is where we find ourselves in a gridlock. Especially the thing I tell people is that if you're a trainer, you got to work alongside with the doctors, the physical therapist, and then there's us. So they go through the recovery, they go to the second line of defense, which to help them recover, and then there's us to help out with the next level.
Gotcha.
Because they always get stuck in the therapist section. Because some people try to look for a trainer, but there are some trainers that just do not want anything to do with it because of liability issues. How can you handle the situation? What made me very unique is that I had EMT background and firefighting. So I've seen stroke individuals going into place with the Cincinnati stroke test, people passing out and, not regaining consciousness. So I was comfortable enough to take her under my wing when her first trainer brought her to me.
Comfortable enough, experienced enough. Yeah.
It's just feeling, you know what you need to do. It's very simple. Just don't over stress too much about it. But thankfully, there are more trainers out there that I'm seeing over the last decade are finally stepping up to fill in that hole in that one area of the niche of personal training.
Do you think there's anything in personal training that's been left that people aren't getting trained on, or they should be getting trained on?
What it comes down to it is the education side. And I think it's just you're going to find some trainers that are cookie cutters. There's plenty of them out there that just pretty much follow a simple basic diet.
Check in, check out.
Check in, check out. I'm going to give you the same diet plan and I'll give to my other clients, or the same workout methods, but it's not geared towards them in particular.
Yeah.
Because what if they have a strong lower body, but they need help with their upper body?
You're just training intolerant, whatever it is.
Yeah, you got imbalances in certain areas that you need to address. And it not just has become the weights. It comes with just simple resistant band training, simple stretches, and all this stuff. That's why working with individuals like John Beadle, for chiropractic, he's phenomenal. I
saw him today.
You did? Oh, nice. Yeah, so he's done a lot for me because I know for my weight training, I'm always putting my body through under a lot of stress. And he's great to decompress areas that are, kind of tightening on me or causing these imbalances. So stuff like that makes you more knowledgeable and more appealing to the client you'll be getting because you have other avenues to help them to achieve
more well-rounded, aren't you?
You have to be more well-rounded.
Yeah.
You can't just focus on this cert. Okay, I'm good for the rest of my life. No, there's seminars you can attend to. There's conferences you can do online if you have to.
I saw John doing training today at the gym.
Yeah,
it's a perfect example.
Exactly. He's like, he should have gone to this lacrosse event, but he had the seminar to attend to.
That's exactly what he's doing. He was doing a seminar. So he's exactly what you're talking about.
But that's what makes him so unique as a chiropractor individual. That's what trainers need to be doing as well.
Just constantly educating.
Yeah. When I achieved my certificate from MPTI through Chris Hitchko, who was he's still my mentors in personal training. I still follow everything he does on his IG and YouTube channel, which he's growing his business called Show Up Fitness. He's got his own internship school.
Oh, really?
Which is amazing.
That's
so
cool.
You can attend it online. You can attend it through.
So that's a great way of doing it.
Well, it's thanks to him. He's given me the confidence and knowledge to go into this realm of personal training, but in the medical side. And there's a few times like he brought me on a few of his class appearances to talk to the students about what I've done, what makes me so intrigued to help out with medical clients compared to your average Joes. Granted, I train a lot of wellness individuals like my own mother, my grandmother. I used to train my former boss at the restaurant that I used to work at during the time of the pandemic. Yeah. Put his butt in the shape and then he bosses me around at work. So it was a good equipment exchange.
That's a good balance.
It is a very good balance, a good relationship too. But again, that's why there's so many opportunities for individuals to attend to these, again, education programs that actually make more sense rather than spending thousands of dollars on a certificate that just doesn't do jack crap. It isn't. And that's why some of these books for personal training, they reamp them, but it's the same thing over and over again. They just change the picturing, maybe a few words here and there, but it's really the same thing.
Gotcha.
That's why I'm very particular on what you can study on.
So you coach being a big one, continuing to educate yourself being a big one. And with that, you're getting better at your own training, I'm guessing too, right? Because you're getting all these new tools.
No, and that's what I appreciate of Eric is that he's able to see, okay, let's start doing back twice a week. Let's start doing chest twice a week, because in Classic Physique, that's what they're ultimately looking for, is a good symmetrical frame for the V-taper look, but also making sure my delts are very well rounded, chest is nice and full, back details great on all sides. And then I've always been dominant in my legs because that's, again, from football and rugby. So I had those to thank, but the upper body took a long time to develop.
Okay.
You know, it took us at this point to get my chest nice and full. Delts are now becoming a little bit like cannonballs. My lats are finally getting more developed and getting that 3D look, which is great for the back pose, especially the front pose for Classic Physique. And so it's a matter of just taking the advantage of someone who's giving their time and effort to give you the tools that you need to do. You have any questions, he'll answer them. If you're confused, like how you want me to do these tempos for these rep ranges, he'll tell you. Or sometimes if I'm around, he'll tell me, like a certain client of his, like, yeah, just go see Mark. He's right over there. If he's there, I'm not there, he can totally help you out with it.
Gotcha.
Which I've done quite a bit in the past. You know? So I became like his student, basically.
Yeah, because he's trained you and then you're helping other people. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I actually utilized some of his basic beginning programs to some of my online athletes that I trained in the past. And it worked very well. These individuals made huge progress, especially some that I just barely took under my wing with barely 5 weeks out, and whoever their coach was at the time was just not giving them the attention, or the programming was the same as it was last week. Like there was no great changes. So it was thanks to what he embedded to me, I was able to take on that scenario, know can I help this individual out with their diet and their workouts, and they made more progress in that short time frame than anything else.
That's interesting.
Which is great.
Talk to me about the biggest secrets on muscle building. Like the mind, we hear the mind to muscle connection. What is that exactly? We hear about making the muscle do the work, not just going through the motion. Like, talk to me about the basic things that you've got figured out now after years of practice and talking to the right people.
What it comes down to it is the mind-muscle connection terminology, I think, is getting abused too much, because that's not really the case. What comes down to it is understanding the weight that you're, like, for example, a bicep curl. Like, yeah, I can totally try to lift 65 pounds on each side with rocking form and technique, but using a lighter weight under more slow controlled tempo, you're gaining the full benefit of utilizing the entire brachialis muscle in that slow controlled tempo. So you're honestly giving your body a lot better chance to grow and break down the fibers over the course of time, and then you can actually go up on the weights.
So your ego's outside.
Ego has to go out of the window. And that's the thing I remember back home, and it's everywhere too, but back home, I've seen guys that are lifting just these monstrous weights, half range of motion, just repping as many as they can do. And I'm like, great, you're repping a lot, but in the long term of things, have you seen results out of it? Are you getting a good thick 3D dimension in your tricep doing the skull crushers, anything else like that? So,
I mean, I see it firsthand all the time, and I don't compete or anything, but I see what most people do. I'm like, you're not going to grow. You're not going to look better because of that.
No. And that's why it doesn't matter. You don't always have to lift heavy weights. There's other approaches you can do. It's like, again, time under tension, high rep volume versus low rep volume.
Break down time and attention just in simple form.
So basically, it's just you taking the control of the negative motion to the concentric, contraction, and then the beginning level. So in other words, if you're coming up to do a full pull-up, you're going to slowly descend down for 4 seconds. So you're just allowing the latissimus dorsi to stretch, and you're getting more fiber recruitment and then explode back up.
That's generally because you're twice as strong too, right? On the negative?
You be strong on the negative, yes. So it's coming back up, and it's just where it gets a little more challenging, because now the muscle's like, oh crap, what are we going to do? And so, and you can do that in other forms of the chest exercises, the shoulders, and your arms, your legs especially. There's so many different torturement, I will call it, that Eric put me through, but it definitely helped to bring my hamstrings out more, because of not just repping as heavy weights all the time, but you're learning to control and contract the muscle and able to engage it better.
And then the volume on top of that.
And adding the control volume over the course of time. And I actually developed going back up to the same weights I used to just to randomly just rep it out. Now I can do that weight properly and more under control.
That's interesting. Are you big on locking out? Are you big at always keeping like some type of tension on the muscle? Where are you at with that? Say bench press.
Bench press.
Are you locking out, or you always got your elbows a little bit bent so the tension's on your chest?
Focus on lock. It's just, again, full range of motion all the way up, squeezing the chest, so you have to lock out the elbows,
lock out and squeeze,
and then bringing it back down. Good range past the torso, so you get the stretch the sternum, and then coming back up again.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. That's really the key. And I mean, even chest flies, like I can use 25 pounds in the incline chest just to get that full range of motion, but under control. Don't have to go with 75 or 85 pounds where you're going to put a lot of tension, but you're going to also sacrifice your rotator cuffs because all that pressure is going to put on it.
Are most professionals doing what you're doing, or are they still lifting? Like, I know like Ronnie lifted really heavy, right? A lot of guys lifting heavy now, or they kind of learned from what happened with Ronnie Coleman, or most people lifting the way that you lift these days?
I think, well, Ronnie Coleman was in his own lane. He was his own breed of nature freak. But I think a lot of the coaches now are just taking a different approach.
Okay.
So they all are on, I guess you say the same boat, but they have their own approaches to the volume, the rep ranges, to what they do for their particular athletes.
Would you say it's evolving for the better?
I think it's getting better with it, yes.
Okay.
I think the training and
It's
the
more,
diet.
do you think they're thinking more like longevity?
Longevity, yes.
Do you think that's kind of like...
I feel like there's a lot of people that are pretty much blasting individuals on social media as we see. Like there's a few people that talked about like how this person was in the hospital because of whatever the diet they were on.
Okay.
And then it also goes back into the concept of the drugs as well.
Yeah.
As you've seen, that it's out there. Like there's no hiding it whatsoever. But there's individuals that are taking more time to make sure their athlete's health is number one.
Okay.
So there's no need to overexert them, over diet them. You know, you have to be transparent when you're in off season and on season. You know, if something's not going right with your athlete, then you need to take a step back and assess what's going on so we can address the situation.
So someone like, when you met Eric, he's like, you're not this year, you're looking 10 years from now to be where you want to be.
Yeah.
Did he kind of tell you that from the get-go? So do you think most people say that? Or like, hey, we can have you on stage next year and you're going to be...
Honestly, it's a 50-50. I will be honest with you on that.
Yeah.
Depending on who the coaches are and where their mindset is, that's why I think you and Eric Bell talked about this on this podcast. You have to be very, very careful on who you're listening to and talking to.
Yeah, I literally posted that clip today.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
then perfect. So that I'll repeat the same thing. Then you have to be careful on who you're signing up with, because there have been issues in just recently, and it's just becoming more open of how certain protocols that certain individuals are putting onto their athletes, and I will say this, are very dangerous. You're rather
protocols. Are you talking drugs? Are you talking
I'm talking
diet?
about everything, like how they train, the program, supplementation.
Trying to get there too quick and taking extreme.
You're trying to be the hare rather than the tortoise.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
So giving everything under the sun to get here tomorrow, opposed to waiting 5-10 years and
Right.
doing it properly and keeping your health and longevity.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's the big picture to look at. I'll give you an example. Like this year, I'm not doing any shows before the North Americans because I am focusing on just a good bulk season, and then obviously take time to let my body recuperate, let it heal, and then we'll start our cycle for the cutting season probably around mid-May. And so that will be probably for the next 3 months. So a good 12 weeks.
Okay.
And then afterwards, I mean, there's talk about us. If we get the pro card, he would like me to do the Legion Sports Festival, which is in October through Center Podium. But that's just up in the air. But
You're taking it one day at a time, aren't you?
I have to, you know.
Well, not even you. You're both taking it one day at a time.
Yeah.
Which is, it's kind of, it's humbling to hear. It's like, hey, you're going to do this, this, and this next year. It's like, no, if we can, we will do this. If not, you will wait because you'll be more ready. That's the mentality, isn't it?
It is.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, because I'd rather do well at one show, like my pro qualifier, to see where I stand, and then take the practice of rest. Take time off to let my body rest, recuperate, let it regroup, and then we can slowly back on to the training. You know,
well, maybe that's what Jay did, right? To beat Ronnie, took a year off,
took a year off, and then look how phenomenal he looked.
came back better than ever.
Even Phil Heath, he's another great example for that too.
He did the same thing.
He did the same thing. Yeah, that's why he
took 1 year off.
Yeah. He took a good time off, but he let his body to heal and relax because he knew what he had to do. That's why he won multiple Olympias.
Gotcha.
You know, and then obviously Flex Lewis, same thing. He obviously took the time off necessary for him to recoup and then go right back on it with the grind. That's why he became 7-time 212 Mr. Olympian.
That's interesting.
And that's why people should just not be afraid to take the rest. But that does not mean go and splurge on everything you can get your hands on, from foods to
No,
drinks.
I think when we say rest, we're talking about not dieting for 12, 16, 20 weeks to compete. You're still going through the motions. You're still eating well.
Yes.
You're just not competing.
Right. Does that mean, can I still have some food for luxury purposes? Yes. But do I splurge for the next 2 months to give and I hear this all the time, to give myself a mental and physical break from training? Then I'm like, yeah, but you end up gaining 40 pounds of all that heavy sodium. Yeah. And then you got to find out your prep's going to be a lot harder because we're going to have to cut all this out. And then you put yourself back in the same cycle. So it's like a repeating thing over and over again. That's what's been so successful for us, is that the reverse diet method that coach puts me on right away. After I have, my celebration meals, I have a few days I just relax, just maybe have 1 or 2 meals, just let my body just chill out. But I go back on it to keep myself regulated. So it's just the habit of it.
The habit being a better word. What is your mentality that keeps you on track for how many years now?
Jeez.
Like, you're talking at least 8 years just of Eric. How many years have you literally been eating clean 98% of the time and training 5 days a week and everything else? What's the mentality of that?
I think I got it mostly how my buddy Josh Wade from All Max Nutrition, when I was with him at the 2019 Olympia, he would tell me and Coach Eric that, you know what, my cheat meals have always been another cup of rice. Because why am I going to sacrifice everything that I'm doing for my progress season into a cut season? Why not make it easier on myself to still stay on track and yet have maybe 1 or 2 cheat meals out of the week?
Cheat meals being cup of rice.
Yeah, cheat meals being cup of rice for him, but then actually enjoying a full pizza, some sushi, Thai food or whatever, because that's still going to give you that sanity, and your body
Sanity,
still, and just to enjoy something. Or for me, I'm Italian, I like a glass of wine, or my Moscow Mule or anything else like that, or a good scotch, but I don't go overboard with it. I'll have a glass every once in a while because I can enjoy that.
Okay.
But when it comes to prep season, you don't mess around with that at all, So, but that's what I've learned over the years working with Eric, and it's thanks to him for these last 8 years I was able to start learning how to keep my diet cleaner and cleaner as years went by.
Having him, did that make you more accountable and sticking to that more?
Absolutely.
That's interesting too.
And that's what I'm talking about. That's the value of a great coach, is that
even if it was just that one thing, it's worthwhile, right?
Yeah.
Accountability for anything is worthwhile, in my opinion.
It is.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
It keeps me on point for the ultimate goal, which is for us to achieve a pro card.
I like how you say us.
Oh, it's a
not,
team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like how you say that. It's not a you thing, it's an us thing. Because you're doing it together. You're supporting one another.
Well, that's, again, back to my younger years, thanks to the sports of teams that I always played a part of. So it's always about us winning to ultimately achieve that goal in the championship matches or just that one game. Same thing for us winning the bodybuilding competitions. We're all in this together, no matter what the case is. So some people have the ego of the I, I'm going to eventually get my pro card, but what about your support here? What about your family, your coach, and your teammates? They also play a part of it too. Even though it is an individuality sport, but the way I look at it is that it's still a team sport. I don't give a crap if I'm going up against my fellow teammate in the same class. We're ultimately there to support each other and do the best we can, because at the end of the day, it's about how much I change it for my physique versus what you change for your physique. So you're always trying to better yourself at each individual show, because you don't know how the other competitors are going to be like. I may have gone up against a few of them in the previous year, but they can either look really good like I have, or they can look really bleh. You just never know. But there's always the team value concept, and that's what makes our group so unique. And there's other individuals out there that have a strong team foundation, which is great. Okay. So it's nice to see that more of that is coming to reality instead of just a lot of individualism.
Gotcha. So you're the good person to ask you this. Drugs, steroids, things like that. What's going wrong? We taking too much? Are people taking it too soon? I know the first chat we had, you mentioned getting your diet, getting your training, and slowly implementing it as you go along. What's your thoughts on drugs in general?
You know, it just in the past, we're seeing a lot more updates on what's going on with certain athletes. Like athletes are like 35 and up, they're just, you know, passing away left and right. And it can be a multiple factors of what that can be. But a lot of people jump to the conclusion, like, again, it's all about the heavy gear and all that stuff. Well, you don't know that. You don't know if that really is the case or not. It could be some sort of illness. It could also be, from the COVID shots. You know, you don't know how your body's going to respond to that particular compound mixtures, which that's a whole different subject. But there could be other factors to the individual too. That's not my place to jump in there to conclusion and judge. However, though, this is where the education comes into play. You have to talk to your doctors, talk to these practitioners that know the sport, know about hormone therapy and everything else like that, to give you a better sense of direction, what you can do for yourself. Again, like I think I told you this in the last episode, like we talked about the big cocktail list that I've seen people are on. This is them being the hare, rather people rather be the tortoise.
Taking ridiculous amount, hoping for a ridiculous amount of results quickly, but with that, huge consequences, right?
Yes.
Opposed to a little amount for a long time, and actually like the hair type mentality. That's what you're getting at, right?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Especially when I'm talking to these young 20-year-olds that are coming into the stores or just meet me at the gym. They're asking about all these questions, and I'm like, number one,
just all about gear and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm like, number one, stop talking about it.
So they're not talking about training or diet.
Yeah, because if you can't get these basics down right, you're never going to get anywhere. What you're going to do.
So let's get to the basics. 20-year-old, what is the basics? Is it training first? Is it nutrition? Is it both? And then at what age can someone maybe even consider? What makes someone in the right to consider maybe going that next step?
My thing is all about, number one, nutrition, into the weight training, and then obviously getting the recovery from your sleep, you know. But unfortunately, we're in the time frame where technology has just advanced so much. That's why you got people playing Xbox, PS5s all night long. They're doing their TikToks, they're doing their Twitches and all that stuff. But I tell these guys, you can get so much more just from the basic formulas right now. You don't want to go on this until like you start talking to your doctors when you're in your 30s.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's my minimum requirement.
No, that's interesting.
Because again, 25 is when most of our testosterone starts tapering down based on what you do. Now, also too, what do you do for your work? There's a lot of us here that do a lot of manual labor in extreme environment. So going on a 12-hour shift, whether you're in the medical field, in the supplementation industry, to construction to whatever, that's a lot of strain on the body. And yet you still have enough energy to get into the gym. Why? Because it's good to release the endorphins, to give you a nice relaxation. You're still trying to keep up what your goals are. Granted, there's a time frame like, okay, I know my body is not mentally ready for this. I feel physically tired. I'm not going to put myself through that extreme. I'm going to actually take a day off to rest.
Okay.
So, but this goes back to, again, I talk to these guys about, when's the last time you doing your blood work? Now, these are guys who are 25s and up. They're like, oh, I've never done my blood work. How about you do that first, and you can see where your results are at. Because if your testosterone is like lower than like 300 and below, then that's probably the time you could talk to your doctor about doing TRT therapy.
Where's your testosterone sitting naturally? Like
mine is normally between 850 to 900.
Naturally?
Yes.
Is that quite high?
For me in particular, because of my ongoing training aspect of it, I'm always physically active. And that's also me contributing to getting my stress under control. So unlike some of my friends who unfortunately have a very stressful job environment, over the course of time, their tests just started dropping.
Gotcha.
Because of all the induced stress, cortisols are spiking up, everything along those factors, or it could just be some genetic hormone imbalance.
So a kid in the mid-20s, the testosterone sitting around where on average?
Pretty average of maybe 600 being the lowest of maybe.
And that's per week, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's.
It should be very consistent.
Gotcha.
But then again, too, how are they eating? Are you being physically active or not? It could just bounce in the ranges of maybe 400 to maybe 700. Okay. You just don't know because each individual is going to be different.
So you get your diet in check, get your training right, get your blood work done.
Yeah.
And then you can assess. And I'm going off what Eric said, there's so much you can do just in what he teaches. with training alone, right? You like people like, yeah, I think I've hit my peak.
Yeah.
He's someone like that just like completely changes them. I mean, you went through the same thing by the sounds of it, judging by your face, right?
Yep, he's proved me.
I mean, he probably wasn't like, oh, take this, and this. He's like, have you tried training like this and eating like this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
because I started talking to a family doctor back home about, what I do for right now, testosterone therapy may be good just because, again, general wellness perspective. But again, the exercising, the diet, and the sleep, that contributes into it too. That's the bulk of everything. You can be on as much testosterone as you want, but you're not being smart enough with the aspect of, you still got to physically train yourself 3 or 5 days a week, eating healthy, being actively walking around. That's what's going to keep your hormones in balance.
interesting.
But for us athletes though, that's a different story, because depending on which category you go into, that is a game changer right there. But it's also you coming to the acceptance that what you're going to do is what you want to do. There's no judging on it whatsoever. If you chose to go into the super heavyweight category, well, you know what that's going to require. And that's just, again, everyone, not again smashing on everybody, but just knowing that, be smart about it. Put your health first if something goes off or anything else like that. And I think we're seeing more of that happening with these passings of these great individual athletes. And I think it's good to put the message out there that, you need to start cutting back. Passively saying to these individuals who are putting a lot of people on these PEDs, need to back off a little bit, because I think that is what's going to bring the sport more out in respect, rather than just getting smashed on because, well, this person takes too much tren, testosterone, D-ball, whatever the case is, or giant massive pro hormones, whatever the case is. It's just a matter of, again, I said this on the last episode, that testosterone therapy is phenomenal for everybody.
I mean, it's there for a reason, right?
It's there for
that's why it's given to
reason.
cancer patients. That's why it's given to people to recover.
Yes, to a certain level degree for those people, but the benefit of, like, for wellness purposes, it's phenomenal. It's just you abusing it. Like I said before, you'd rather be the hair, then you're going to abuse the stuffing out of it.
So what is the difference between using and abusing? How does somebody know that?
Well, this goes back to the younger generation that are seeing their idols looking as great, phenomenal, big shape as they are. They want to get those results quick. That's, to me, abusing, because they want to get on it very quickly at a very young age. I know individuals that were 19, 18 years of age that started that. And they're quite big, right, at that age. They got big, but...
Who was that Australian guy everyone used to look up to? He used to do that, the pose... Zeus? He was like literally one of the first influencers.
Oh, geez.
Good looking guy, six pack, but he's dead now.
I could not remember his name for the life of me.
But you know the guy I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about, but
he's not around anymore. He hasn't been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And he wasn't huge.
But again.
And honestly, I've said this in a previous podcast. I had a friend who was my mentor when I was early 20s. He dropped dead at 31 from a heart attack.
Really?
And he had a wife, he had a 2-year-old daughter. And that was, as bad as it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I'm like, I was so obsessed with training, looking better. I was so obsessed my entire life. It's only not till the last 5-6 years of actually, okay, there's more important things than just the way you look.
No, 100%.
And I was so bad. I was so obsessed. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But to see that firsthand, who's somebody I worked with, somebody I was friends with, somebody I looked up to, I was like, it's not worth it. He's got a daughter. No. He's had a wife. He's died at 31. That's literally 12 years ago. He's missed 12 years of life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I always remember that. And I will always remember it for the rest of my life. So, I know it's kind of dark and it's sad, but it's like, it was a blessing in a way. And I was never doing anything stupid, but it's like, I'm glad I didn't. And it kind of kept me in check, to be honest.
And this goes back to having coaches that take you on as a new client, but you came from a previous individual. Sometimes some of the stuff they have you on is not really necessary, and and you get these coaches that actually taper you back off quite a bit, and you'd be surprised like how much results you're going to get out of that, and it keeps you around a lot longer.
That's going to be a good feeling, right?
In a blunt way of putting it. But this is why you go to places that have like male clinics, or just hormone clinics in general, because female and male athletes can go to these places. That's why I look into places like Magnus Medical, which is used to be called Forever Young. That's why I'm actually having an appointment coming up next week to go over my blood work, and then also talk about, again, this is what I do. I'm an athlete, yes, but I'm also a full-time worker that's on my feet 12 hours of the day. I would like to talk about, again, let's talk about the peptides, certain testosterone therapies.
Someone you can be honest to too, right? With zero judgment.
That's the best thing.
I feel like most bodybuilders hold it to their chest, and they don't want to talk about it. They don't. Oh, I'm not taking anything. I'm natural. But it's true, right?
It is.
But I mean,
it's so true.
But I mean, to be able to completely drop your guard and be completely honest with someone, I think is probably the lifesaver.
Yeah.
Because they're going to tell you straight up, dude, you're about to die if you keep doing that, or hey, you're actually doing a pretty good job.
So going on that, my family practitioner back home would tell me all the time, because I was one out of the other 10 bodybuilder athletes that go and see him, and I was basically on a SARM protocol at this time in my mid-20s, and I still competed very well being on those. And he told me every time, it's amazing to see you as an athlete that have such better blood work based on your coach's protocol, how he designed you for just using SARMs alone, compared to other guys that go and see him. They have high levels of X, Y, and Z, right? And because they're taking this X amount, so he tells them, like, you don't need that much. Just go back to this low dosage, and I promise you, everything will even out perfectly. And then as the older I get, I'm still being very active when I do. And, we talked about, adding testosterone as far as my protocol and stuff like that. So, and that's the thing. I'm utilizing it for my wellness purposes, but yes, it does help me out with the bodybuilding aspect of it.
But you're not taking enough to it's going to do prolonged damage.
No, I'm using it to keep my energy levels up, be recovered, because again, being on your feet for 12 hours, and that's a lot of work.
I mean, even just being mid-30s. You start to slow down in the morning.
You do.
You aches and pains and a little bit of inflammation.
But again, you follow the research and the protocol methods, just be on it for this X amount of time for a cycle, then taper off for 2 or 3 months, and then come back on it again. And that's one thing. Again, I openly talk about this with my doctors. This is what Coach has done a lot with certain doctors that he's talked to, which is what makes him a very valuable source, because we feel comfortable enough that we're talking to the right people that's getting us into the right direction of things. But this goes back to, again, you dropping your ego to the side, checking your blood work, make sure everything is good. If it's not, take time off.
Don't just stick your head in the sand and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Or once I get this title, or once I get here, I'll stop.
Right.
Because you may not get there.
And I can tell you that all the people that I have gone to know here in the last, now being here for 9 months, which is crazy to think. I've been here for 9 months in Vegas. There are so many great individuals that are so on point with this, that they know exactly what they're doing for themselves. They know how to listen to their bodies. I mean, this is what I love about the Dragons Lair. There's so many great individuals that I got to meet. They even told me, like, again, to remind me, which I already know, but they remind me, like, yeah, dude, just make sure you get your blood work done 6 weeks later after you've done your competitions, and then go from there, yada, yada. Because it's all about that community. Like, we're all there to make sure our health's first,
which is really nice, isn't it?
It's great.
Yeah,
it's like a big family. We're making sure we're all in our top conditions, but these individuals know how to do it correctly, versus individuals who just want to just do it just to look big in the gym, the bro science stuff. Or look great on their first TikToks, wherever they go on to. That's why I don't know if you follow Goob on Instagram.
I do not.
I'll send you his page. He calls out on these individuals that do a lot of filtering or change of their images to make them look super lean, taper, and everything else. He talks about other stuff too, especially like in the powerlifting stuff and everything else like that. Great guy. His posts are mostly hilarious when he gets into it, but it brings out more of these influencers that are just cheating their way,
just faking it
a little bit.
What do you think about Joey Swells?
Joey Swole, I have nothing bad to say about him. I met him.
No, I don't mean about. Oh, yeah, met him. What's he like?
No, he's very chill, very
How
cool.
big is he?
Oh, he's bigger than me.
Yes, he
When I
looks
first met
pretty
him.
big. I'm like,
I was thinking like,
I'm like,
holy
is
crud.
that just the internet, or is he pretty massive?
No,
But
he was massive in person when I saw him.
I love how he's defending just people getting shamed on social.
Yeah, because that's what I was saying, because some
so
people come attack him for whatever reason. I'm like, you don't realize what he's doing right now? He's actually being a good...
Oh, he's changing gym culture.
Exactly.
Forever.
Right. But like I said, I think, God, I met him at the expo oh my God, like 5 years ago. And again, I was not as big as I am now. I was still like, tiny in a sense, but conditioned. But seeing him, I'm going like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Like, it was not like intimidating, but I was like, good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah, I feel like, dude, if someone filmed me and shamed me publicly, I would be devastated. I'd want to go kick the crap out of that person. Well, I would not be happy.
It's funny you say that, because there's a video going viral right now of Sean Ray getting attacked.
Oh, really?
Based on a certain comment he said about the son of a coach who was very well known. And it was at the Arnold just recently. And it was just one of those things like, you be careful what you say, and just in public and in professional business stuff, because that scene will happen to you. And I personally hate to see that out of anybody. I don't care who you are. I don't care how good or bad you are. It's just not a good thing to see. But there's sometimes at this present moment, it had to be presented for whatever case is. But it's just about, again, like, you can do that in private, but instead it was filmed. You know what I mean?
There's always some camera.
But there's always, there's cameras everywhere. You gotta, that's why I say you gotta be careful what you say to certain customers and stuff like that, because anything could be twisted at this point in time.
Yeah, you saw what they did with Joe Rogan.
Oh, with his real dad, or whatever the case is?
No, with like the black
some
community and him using the word. And they literally went through and snipped it out of 2,000 podcasts, how many times you use that word, and pieced it together.
Oh,
just to make
like
they done.
Okay, they did that.
So bad. The amount of time and effort and money went into that was insane.
And
but everybody who knows him knows he's not like that. So everyone's like, this is so stupid.
Well, then they recently posted about his real dad.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, someone posted on their story, and I'm going like, oh Jesus, what's a new thing that people are posting these days? It's one crazy thing after another. It's like, okay, guys, enough of this. Let's stop this negativity crap. Let's bring some more positivity.
Let's focus being positive.
And let's go back to the reason why I do charity events, because it brings joy to me to bring happiness to these kids and adults alike. It's my way giving back to the society and that, and that's something that's a very positive, influential thing. And I've talked to people on my Instagram when I started doing my first photo shoots. I invite them like, look, if you want to participate with me, let's figure out who you can be a character of, and then we can bring this character.
Yeah, that's really cool.
You'd be surprised how many kids are going to love that stuff.
Yeah.
And then trying to figure out how I can get into the hospitals with all this stuff going on, everything else like that. I miss doing that. I did that back home in Bakersfield quite a bit, especially the Ronald McDonald Foundation. Yep. We did the NICU event. That was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
These kids were all dressed, like the kids were dressed up as superheroes, and me holding them on like a good photo op and everything else. Some would not let go of me because they're just like, oh my God, it's my Superman. Like they're choking me to death.
Even this podcast, like something you said that somebody's going to watch tomorrow or 5 years or 10 years time, and it gets them to take less gear or gets them to eat better, or whatever it is. That's what it's about. It's all about providing value and trying to help as many people as possible. And the reason I want this podcast to get bigger is I have more reach and more influence, because everybody who sits in that seat has positive things to just say and do to help other people. Longevity. We talked about it before. We look at Dorian Yates, we look at Cutler. Amazing. The top, and now they drop back a bit, and they're living, breathing, nice and healthy, and even just longevity in general. What's your thoughts on longevity?
Well, to me, they do it right. That also goes to see Milos, also at the Dragon Slayer gym, and also Flex Lewis himself. I mean, he looks phenomenal, not competing, but he's still, they all keep themselves moving, and that's the greatest thing. Dorian Yates pick up the hobby of doing a lot of yoga. Yeah. And that's done phenomenal. He's such a yogi now, isn't he? Yeah, but he's still, again, it's still Dorian Yates. But see how healthy he looks? Jay Cutler, even though he's not competing anymore, but look, he's still actively keeping himself fit.
He still looks better than 99.9% of the population.
Right. And that's where myself in my shoes, in my age, especially looking up to that generation, they're the ones I like to follow the example of, because they're setting the stepping stones to what you could still have a good longevity life.
Because why wouldn't you look up to someone like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They just know how it is, because they think longevity ahead. Like, I still want to have my wellness, still be around to do the things I love to do, still train clients, open up my own gym, to being an influencer for supplementations, to apparel lines or whatever. Yeah. But they also do their best to give back to the community and to provide whatever they need to do. But again, there's a reason why they're here for a long time. My coach is one of them too. He's been in the industry for over 3 decades. He's been an athlete. He's put a lot of emphasis time into growing as an individual. He's 20 years older than I am, roughly. But he looks the way I want to be when I get to that level.
Yeah, that's I always say age. That, right?
It's a great example to, it is achievable. But here's the thing, though. It's just one day at a time. It's 1 week, month to a year. There's no need to rush it. I can say I would like to be at 235 to 240 pounds in a good, progressive, steady pace over the course of time of my training, because I know my body's going to continue to grow. I'm able to eat more food in a very clean, positive way, but also keeping everything in balance. So it's just a matter of a good habit. It'd be nice to look like that,
Talk to me about, I feel like everybody wants to bigger and bigger and bigger. Talk to me about the fact it doesn't matter for some people.
Yeah.
Because, I weigh 230 right now. I'm definitely not lean. I should be sitting like 215. But it's so easy to get caught up. Like Eric's talking, he's 250. You're talking this way. It's like sometimes you got to stop and like, what do I want? And why do I want it? Obviously, for you, what you do, and you got a bigger goal. But for the average person, they don't need to be trying to keep up with you. They don't need to be trying to be 250. If you're 180 and you're 15% body fat, that's phenomenal.
Exactly.
So talk to me about that. How do you kind of figure that out for yourself? And with the social media, perfect lighting, perfect photo, everybody's pumped. It's kind of messed up, right? Have you seen that new filter that just came out?
Oh,
on TikTok?
I saw
Holy
that.
Shit.
It's like, this is
guys and girls.
This is why I don't do TikTok, man.
Oh my God, dude, these average looking people are looking phenomenal.
But then she goes back to, this is what I really look like, and this is what this filter can do for me now. It's like,
and
that's sick.
It's scary because the girl is actually a pretty girl, but comparison, she's not pretty anymore.
Right.
And I was like, this girl would be a pretty girl.
I still found her attractive in her normal self.
But to go back, it's like, oh my God, it's got to be making you feel crappy about yourself.
Very diluting.
Yeah.
It's very toxic. And it's going to get worse that way. So
it's only going to get worse. It's going to be a body filter soon.
Oh, no.
You know it's coming there, right?
Oh, it's just like people spray their tan abs on.
But it's literally going to be a filter soon. It's going to look real.
Oh, God.
22-inch biceps.
Imagine going on the date. You mean, you look great. And you look in person, you're like,
you just have to do a Zoom date. That way you can keep up your persona. Like your catfishing is real if you know ever have to meet each other.
And that's another thing people need to be careful is the catfishing part. But anyways, I know for me, this is what I appreciate about Coach is like he knows that I can achieve a certain weight, but I don't want to go past the limits to where like it's going to put me in a bad spot. Health-wise and just overweight and, everything else, bad BMI, what have you. That's why people always say to me like, damn, you look like you're 230, 235. I'm like, no, I'm actually 220. They're like, bullshit. That's what they tell me. And I said, no, because this is what I'm slowly building up to. Is
the illusion, right?
Yeah, I build up the illusion.
Shape, the size, the small ways.
Exactly. But for us to grow big, in the off season, we have to be transparent with ourselves. And this is what I mentioned before about Jen Dory mentioned that in her podcast on Flex Lewis's show. And it was a perfect example because in order for us to grow, we're going to have to get out of that conditioned, season ready shape.
I had Jen on here, one of my first guests.
Really?
Jen Spreadline.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And she said the same thing. She goes, it's so hard to get out of your comfortable shape to grow.
It's true.
Each goes, it plays with you mentally.
Especially with, I don't know, you have I saw you have a few athletes on here that I recognized in the past, but if they ever talked about like the body dysmorphia.
I've talked to a few people about
you have.
I talked to Seth Shaw about that.
Oh, Seth, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, he's a big boy.
Yeah, he's very open about it. I think I've watched a little bit of clip of that on your IG page, but that's something that people need to be aware of. Is like, they allow the body dysmorphia kick in, especially, I look at myself from yesterday. You know, I did my check-ins. I'm like, I didn't let it negatively affect me in a way to how big I look, but I look at the overall frame of everything. I'm like, I'm actually looking pretty damn good in this progress season, because I'm doing what we're ultimately trying to do. We're trying to get the body to grow, but also let it relax, let it able to absorb all the nutritional values, get in enough rest factor, and knowing that it's going to pay off. Yes, you're going to hold on to some water because you're adding more calories and everything else like that. I'm drinking like 2.5 gallons a day because I have so much muscle mass on me. But yet I look at everything else, like the legs are looking just sharp as they are. They're just adding quality size. My chest, delts, and lats are now beginning a good X frame in this bulk phase. Now imagine what it looks like when I'm cutting down.
Yeah.
That's going to be a whole different game changer. But I am comfortable with the acceptance that what I'm doing is going to be good for the longevity goal. You know, I still feel good in my clothing and everything like that. Actually, people see that I still look healthy. And that's the best part compared to blowing up like a balloon and then finding the opposite direction of that.
What about just the average Joe? You got some 30-year-old female or 30-year-old male who's just looking to get healthier but not compare himself with you.
Right.
Or
yeah,
Eric,
to me, yeah.
Or social media. How does somebody do that in your opinion?
I think it's me as going from a trainer approach, just being open and honest with them. Like, what is the realistic goal you're looking at? Like, I don't give a crap what these magazine IG people look like, because
So putting some blinders up in a way.
Yeah, I want you to focus on yourself.
Okay.
Like, see exactly what do you want to do in the next 3 months. Very small goals. Small goals to achieve. And that's something you have to be real and honest with the clients. Especially when I do my interviews with them, my consultations, I'm listening to what they're hearing, and then I'm processing and then giving it back to them to look at the big picture, but narrow it down to the simple goal factors, because they want something very massive, big, and be done right away. And that happens about 90% of the time. So that's where I know people like my coach, even Justin Dees at the Dragon's Lair. He's another phenomenal coach aspect who's been in the industry for a long time. He knows, and I watch his clients at the Dragon's Lair. I know how he is very precise and realistic with them. Again, he puts his clients' health first too, which is great. So individuals like him, my mentor in personal training, Chris Hitchko, is another great example of that too. They try to teach them how to make more realistic goals as far as weight loss to strength gains, slowing, adding up. For me, with my medical clients, like, I want you to be able to do a walking lunges without anything, no support or nothing for the first few steps.
Yeah.
That's a huge accomplishment of itself. And Katie proved that when I finally got her into some form of like a regimen of weight training, but more stability control with like TRX, poles or whatever. And then she finally did lunges for the very first time since her first stroke attack. And it was just fireworks going off left and right, because that is a small accomplishment of a victory. And that's something I tell people all the time, is like, just make small victory goals.
Small victory.
Yes.
I like that.
Let's get down to 2 pounds a week.
Blinders up.
Yeah.
Let's
get you down to a full range of motion of a squat that you weren't able to do before because your hips are so tight.
Realistic
Look how much we put into
Okay.
conditioning and loosening up the groin, the glutes and everything else to get down to that range of motion. Here's some good band exercises, stretch to re-engage them. Small victories like that will then take you farther into what the weight training is going to do for, again, maximizing lean muscle gains to burning more body fat cells. Then along with the habits of your nutrition, like, you can still get creative with it. You don't have to be super strict like, I am for bodybuilding, but you can add some of the seasons in there, but it's a good source for you to start utilizing for good habits, especially most of my clients that have kids. Now I tell them, like, how does your kid want to look like when he's going to be a high schooler and an adult? They're looking at you.